record on FM radio. What was that experience
Well,
like?
we knew when the record was going to be played the first time. And we did a few shows where Scott Muni would promo us on the air because, you know, we had a manager who was in the thick of it. We had all the right things around us. And we had a friend who we all gathered at his house knowing the record was going to come on. And it came on, and you know that was it. You know, that was pretty amazing. And then there were nights where we drove. One time we drove to I think it was Buffalo, and we heard it on the radio in the car, and we were. This was probably NEW at the time, and we were in regular rotation. We had a single called Spoiler that we would hear, you know, 5 o'clock in the evening for a period. We would hear it, so it became pretty normal. You know, it was kind of but amazing every time. It was an amazing time, and you know, still going to school at this point. You know, you go into school on a Monday after being away all weekend when I went, and it was you know a formative years. I tended to bond with Mayo because we started to write together.
Okay.
And I was always into guitar players. You know, like good guitar players was what really turned me on. And we just had a good chemistry. He had a great tone, great sense of humor. They were like hazy years, if you know what I mean. And we just bonded intellectually and on many levels. So even after the Haystacks project kind of tanked, you
did the Brats after that, right?
That's later on.
Okay.
Later on, we always had a band that played.
Okay.
There was always a band that played out there, and Haystacks Balboa became Haystacks, and Joe Franco, Twisted Sister Joe Franco, Beat Street Studios Joe Franco became our drummer, and then he was hijacked by the Good Rats from us when we were playing like 6 sets a night at dance club gigs on Long Island. Sure. So we were a working band that played. So you're building chops, you're getting more musical, you're writing, and you're out there, and it became very second nature to get on a stage. Yeah, it just became a very natural thing. So me and Mayo figured as the writing progressed, and we'd get little things here, a jingle here, a Gimbals commercial here, you know, things like that. Just kept it together, and we seemed to make a decision, consciously or unconsciously, to really be about our own music.
What about the Brats? Tell me the Brats.
Okay, so when I was going to Queens College, I would drive home down Union Turnpike, and there was a record store called the Music Box that was on the way home, that was owned by Keith West, who lead singer. He had this band, the Brats. So we got very friendly, myself and bunch of guys that were all like a clique, and we would hang out there. Paul Stanley, all these guys would hang out there, and the Brats in the early days of New York club rock. I don't want to put a name on it, glitter, whatever you want to call it. These guys were happening. Club rock. These guys were like happening. One of the Rick Rivets, or George as I know him, was an original doll before they had a name or anything. And Arthur Kane, going back a little further, Arthur Kane, the bass player from the Dolls. We went to the same high school, and he played rhythm guitar with me in the Catskills, you know? And funny thing there was we got a gig in a hotel in the Catskills for the whole summer, and Arthur's father wouldn't let him go. Now, if you think about what he went on to and the, the debauchery and all of that, his father wouldn't let him go. So I go back with these guys, Queens rockers, and the Brats started to really happen live. They would play clubs that would be packed. And at one point, they were making some personnel changes, and they were looking for a new guitar player, a new bass player, and they still wanted to play. So they approached Mayo and me to see if we would sit in till they, found the permanent guys, which we weren't really interested in being because we had our own thing at the same time. So we played with them, I guess maybe about a year, played a whole bunch of shows. And we wrote material for them, and First Rock Star on the Moon from the Max's album, Brat's Cut is a Mayo Polott tune. And they do Dancing in the Backseat still live, which is a Mayo Polott tune that we wrote for them that we never recorded. And we did a single with them, one side, one of our tunes, one side, one of their tunes. And we had a ball, and we were not, me and Mayo, we weren't really from that same genre, so to speak, but we love to play, and we could rock too. So we were with them for a while until they eventually found replacements, and there again, to this day, close friends.
Oh, and what is the legend that Kiss met at a Brat?
Well, Paul Stanley used to hang out at the music store too.
Okay.
The Mayo Pollott's second signed project was a group called Mercury.
Right.
Ron Johnson who was the manager of Electric Lady Studios, was producing a band called Wicked Lester, which was Paul and Gene,
Right.
pre-Kiss. And when that didn't kind of get off the ground and they made other connections, the next thing that he produced, Ron Johnson, was Mark Mayo and myself, another band that eventually was called Mercury. We recorded another project for Polydor Records. Single was pressed. There was album art. Record never came out due to personnel changes at Polydor. But we did some gigs under that name.
Okay.
We did some touring around the country, and I have a single to show for it, a great song called "Aw Shucks Ain't Got the Bucks," which to this day is a great funk tune. And it was a mixed race band, which you didn't really see in those days.
No, you did not.
And we were playing kind of half a set of funk and half a set of rock, but good players, and that was like an offshoot of that era. And with Paul hanging out with the Brats, they couldn't get gigs, Kiss. The Brats were getting gigs. So they would have these loft parties in a loft, or they would rent out the ballroom at the Diplomat Hotel, and Brats would book Kiss to play.
Wow.
And now you might read it the other way because it's been written the other way.
Oh,
but
sure.
as far as I know it, and I was there. They were really Bratz gigs, but Kiss were, that's when they started to really make a lot of noise.
What now? Then that leads to the blue period in urban blue.
Yeah, well, it's always up and down.
Yeah, right. That's the life of a musician.
The life of an original musician.
That's exactly right.
That's it. So we went through a whole variation of different incarnations with blue in the title, because we always felt like we were very bluesy, but we were never a traditional blues
You
band.
weren't. Yeah, I don't hear any
Never a
Zeppelin
traditional. Like if you would see Zeppelin live or Beck live, there's always that blues in the set,
in
and
your
it's
face.
blues oriented music because we're children of that '60s British invasion phase 2. Like the heavier bands like Cream changed our lives.
Sure.
And I think that we went through various different female singers because we've never had luck with singers. We would have these male singers that would always kind of flake out, as
Lead singer disease.
lead singers tend to do. So eventually we went through several different Blue Zone and Blue Lagoon and Blue this and Blue that, and we eventually. Well, actually, it was a sidetrack because we had a band called Raccoon Lodge, which was a big horn band, an 8-piece horn band, and that led us to Urban Blue, which is the modern era. Urban Blue, these guys are players.
You got to play.
You got to play. Players got to play, even if you don't play a lot. You got to play, and once you're bitten by the bug,
That's it.
I had a whole other career, but I've never stopped playing music.